This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and it's another Windows Phone from surprise Microsoft. Well, at the time this was designed, actually it was still Nokia, but you know, Microsoft bought Nokia, so basically they own the Lumia brand now. Anyway, Lumia 735 here. Really cute colors. I like bright colors. I like orange. Anyway, this is available overseas, i.e. not the US, being we're in the US. I believe in Australia, you guys down under get it. It's in Europe, and the price point is around the equivalent of $300 or under $300. We don't know US pricing and which carrier is going to offer it yet. We do know it is coming to the US. Microsoft sent this to us to review it because indeed it is coming to the US. We got a 720p OLED display here, 4G LTE. You can look at it now. So this is the Nokia Lumia 735, and we're back to what, well, Nokia does best, these really colorful and playful shells. I really like this a lot. And the fit and finish for a phone that's supposed to be, you know, mid-rangey, maybe even priced a little bit under mid-range, is very good. The way the glass meets the edging right here. It's polycarbonate. It's got, you know, Nokia's usual look from the 1020 on. We know this kind of appearance right here. Notice no dedicated camera button on this one. We do have volume rockers here. We have our power button. That's kind of surprising because this is not going to be a dual purpose design that's going to run any other OS, obviously. But anyway, no dedicated camera button. Headphone jack up top right there. No SIM card slot, no micro SD card slot. Why? Because, you know, it doesn't look like it, but you can actually peel this off. It's a little terrifying at first because you think, I'm breaking my phone. And it takes some work to get it off, but what you do is you work your way around and you can actually pull this shell off. It's way easy to get on compared to taking it off. So you work your way around the edges there carefully, and then eventually stick a fingernail in and then give it one mighty yank. And trust that everything will be okay, because it will be. So now we have our back shell off right here, and it's this large area over here. It supports wireless charging. Yay. Yay, that's good. Qi, wireless charging, by the way. So here's our removable 2220 milliamp battery. This is the nano SIM card slot. It's a pretty wide area right here, but the SIM card slot is actually inset in there, the little metal receiver for it, and spring loaded, which is nice. And we have a micro SD card slot. So there you go. Those things do exist. Now, this, like I said, is not the easiest thing to get on and off. Probably you're not going to want to be swapping your micro SD cards all the time, given that, but that is, of course, up to you. Now, putting this back on, like I said, is much easier. You just pop it right on, and it's just on easily. Very nice. The display is very colorful. Super AMOLED. This is a 1280 by 720 display. So this is a 720p display at 4.7 inches. And in some ways that's kind of nice. We looked at the higher end Lumia 830, which has an LCD display. It doesn't have this level of color saturation, the deep blacks. This does have outdoor viewability mode, by the way, as well. So I think most people are going to like this who are used to Lumias, because, well, you're used to that AMOLED kind of experience there. And it gets pretty bright too. It's viewable outdoors, which is fine with me. Runs Windows Phone 8.1 with the Lumia Denim release on board. However, some of the neat features of Lumia Denim, like, well, we've got Cortana, who could be always listening, but Cortana only listens if you have a Snapdragon 800 or better CPU. Here we have a 1.2 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon 400 CPU. That's a quad-core CPU, 1 gig of RAM, and 8 gigs of internal storage. That's not much internal storage, especially if you like to install games, so it's a good thing there is a micro SD card slot. So in a way, think of this as the spec-bumped version of the Lumia 720. It's got more RAM, it's got a better processor, it's got a better front camera. This is a 5 megapixel camera up front. My God, the selfie craze, right? It just won't end. And it's a wide angle fast lens, 24 millimeter equivalent. So you can capture your environment or a couple of your friends or your kitty cat along with you when you're using the selfie camera. That's pretty nice. And you can see we even have a little Lumia selfie app right there. We also have the regular Lumia camera app, plus Microsoft's camera application, just so you can go camera crazy here. That said, this is, other than the selfie camera on the front, which is pretty good, although dynamic range is, you can see blown highlights and things like that, but for a front camera, it's good. 6.7 megapixel camera here, Zeiss lens, and we have an LED flash right there. It's not the world's greatest camera. It's like the lower end cameras we've seen in some other Lumias. Again, it also has some problems with dynamic range, particularly you can get some white out in a bright sky. And the white balance is a little weird on it. It just bounces around. It tends to do a little too blue or magenta for white balance often enough, but it's not always consistent. In other words, I mean, that said, I don't think Nokia has ever made a truly bad camera, but this is not one of your high-end camera phones right here. No, it's not. And it's not priced like one either. So if you're wondering just how wide this is, well, you can see right here just how wide a front selfie camera this is, and we can capture a whole lot of the room right there. So yeah, that's pretty neat for a selfie camera, and it's not bad looking at all either. I'll take a picture there so we can see how that looks. So there's the picture we took, and then there's a variety of effects you can choose here. Original, magazine, really? You can do that. Posterize, all sorts of things there. So you can really knock yourself out and have a whole lot of fun with the Lumia selfie camera on this. Now here's the main Lumia camera application for the rear camera right here, and you can see you have controls for your white balance, auto, ISO, all sorts of things. We've got the ring interface right there. We're no strangers to that. And then you can go to adding various lenses on here if you want, bracketing, more settings. There's not a whole lot there. Flash control, 16:9 versus 4:3 aspect ratio, so on. And capture times, considering I'm about 3 inches away from that bath toilet, the fact that it focused at all is pretty good. Capture times are absolutely fine on this. You can do a tap to focus right there, and you can switch to recording video, and you can record up to 1080p video with this. So it's by no means a hideous camera. It's just not a super duper wow camera, and actually right now it's doing a pretty good job with the white balance as well. So just in case you're new to Windows Phone 8.1, right here you've got the live tile interface. You can resize these, you can rearrange these, you can remove ones that you don't want. If you get a version with carrier bloatware, you can remove the carrier bloatware. There's mobile versions of Skype, MS Office, Xbox Gaming right there. That doesn't mean that you're going to play Battlefield 4 on here, but there's a nice selection of games actually available for Windows Phone. Music player, video player, it's quite a complete experience. A very good contacts hub that integrates with social networking like Facebook and Twitter and so on. Cortana is the voice assistant. She does a pretty good job. Like I said, you're not going to have her always listening when the screen is off, but when she's on. And so here we have Cortana. You could type your query in here, or what movies are playing near me? And there we have it. Works pretty well. It's actually pretty fun. Has a little bit of a sense of humor occasionally. So you got your voice commands there. I won't harp on the fact that, you know, the app selection for Windows Phone isn't up there with Android and iOS, but there's enough to keep you entertained here. My goodness, we got Minecraft right here. We have the Netflix application. You have weather.com. Like I said, mobile office is already built in here, and Skype as well. So there's enough certainly to make this quite a useful phone. So how about battery life? 2,220 milliamps might not sound like a lot when some phablets have 3,000 and better milliamps. Well, this guy, of course, has only a 4.7-inch 720p display on the Snapdragon 400, not the 801, not the 805, not anything else like that. So the battery is perfectly adequate for a day of use. If you use it moderately to a little bit harder than moderately, it should still have about 10-15% left by the time you're ready to go to bed, unless you're a night owl and you don't go to bed at 2 a.m. I'm talking about those of you who put the phone to sleep at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Now, if you play games like crazy, if you use the GPS for navigation with the included Nokia HERE maps, expect shorter run times. It does, again, support wireless charging, and the charging area is right under the back here. Tested it, works great. It's not a super duper quick charge kind of phone or anything like that, but well, you can always swap a second battery in if you need, which is kind of refreshing. Voice quality on the phone, Nokia does a great job with voice, generally speaking, and we tested this with an AT&T SIM in the United States, and voice quality was very nice, particularly full and rich sounding. I was pretty darn pleased with it. Now for gaming, we're testing out Beach Buggy Racing here. Asphalt 8 actually is playable on this, but you'll notice some occasional drop frames and all that sort of thing. This is a bit less demanding, and it plays pretty well. I'd say there's a little control lag sometimes. So here we are, going pretty darn fast through town, and obviously using the accelerometer option. And it looks great, actually. The frame rates are pretty good on this. So if you're going to play the most demanding Windows Phone games, you expect a little bit of frame jitter here and there, a lag, but it's usable. It certainly is. Obviously, higher-end phones that cost considerably more and have a Snapdragon 801 in it are going to play games even more smoothly if you talk about, again, the most demanding games that are available on Windows Phone. But you can rip up some palm trees just fine right here. So that's the Nokia Lumia 735. You know, the Moto G second generation is really giving all the mid-tier phones a really hard time. But the fact is, right now, there is no LTE version of the Moto G. So those of you considering Android and Windows Phone, well, this one will have an advantage because it will have LTE in the US when it is available. Beyond that, if you like Windows Phone, and there is a lot to like, it's a really sweet phone for a really pretty good price. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full written review, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.